Allen is suing his ex-friend, Karen Stevenson, for a loan to keep her from going to jail. Karen claims the loan never took place.
All rise.
Now it's case number 472 on the calendar in the matter of Allen versus Stevenson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Allen, it is your claim that the defendant borrowed some money from you. She's a former girlfriend of yours. Ms. Stevenson says that you're a con guy. She never borrowed any money from you. She doesn't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Go.
Okay. Yes, we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we decided to part ways, and we remained friends. On about the middle of September, about a week before I actually loaned her the money, she called me in desperation and said Lisa had taken a checkbook that no longer existed, a checking account, wrote a check out for $1,800. She needed money, that the bank was pressing charges, and
she wrote out a bad check?
Yes, Lisa.
Is Lisa here?
No.
Where is she?
She lives in Florida.
Who does she live with in Florida?
Herself.
What does she do for a living?
She's a cashier.
Ever been arrested?
No.
Ever been charged with a crime?
Lisa? No.
Lisa?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
So at the time, when she called me, she said, I need this money. If I don't pay this $1,800 back.
For Lisa?
For Lisa, they're going to arrest me because it was drawn on my bank account. So...
Oh, just a minute. Where do you live?
Salisbury, Maryland.
You live in Maryland, and somehow Lisa got hold of one of her old checkbooks.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa forged a check for $1,800.
Yes.
But there was no longer an account.
Yes, ma'am.
And Lisa cashed a check in Florida.
Somewhere, I don't know actually, when she said, but it was a check written on this account, and it bounced, so the bank was going to press charges, and if she didn't pay the money back, they were going to put her in jail.
Put who in jail?
Karen.
It's not true.
She didn't write a bad check.
Well, that's what she told me, ma'am.
That sounds ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, doesn't that sound ridiculous? How old are you?
I'm 40, be 42 in March, ma'am.
42. What do you do for a living?
I have a few businesses. I'm going back to school, getting my real estate degree, and
What kind of businesses do you have?
I have a business running a company. I started in 1990.
What does it make? What does it do?
Well, I buy and resell food as like a Cisco or a U.S. food service.
You do that now?
No, right now I am in the process of going back to school. The company.
So now you don't do anything? No,
the company still exists. I'm collecting my accounts receivables and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the process. I have real estate I'm selling. I do various different things.
Who do you live with?
I live with my brother right now. I'm in the process of selling my real estate.
You're in a process of doing an awful lot, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you in the process of going through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am.
Did you go through a bankruptcy?
No, ma'am, I haven't.
Did you ever apply for a bankruptcy?
No,
Did you
ma'am.
ever consult with a lawyer about a bankruptcy?
Yes, I have.
When?
I consult with my lawyer in August, September, October, just discussing...
September of 2006?
Yes, ma'am.
About the same time that she was asking for some money?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why would you consult with an attorney about a bankruptcy, sir?
I'd just gone through a divorce. That the settlement of property had to be dispersed. I had loans with my company, just seeking my different options, out there. It was discussed, but it was never gone through. I'm in a process of selling my assets to pay debts. That was my choice to do it that way. I want to make sure all of my bills are paid. That's why I'm selling my home, other real estate. I have a $1.5 million piece of business real estate that I'm in the process of selling.
What's the mortgage on it?
$790,000.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in June of '04.
In whose name is it?
It's in my company's name.
Which is?
Paradise Produce Company Incorporated.
Who else is a partner in Paradise Produce?
Nobody. I'm 100% owner.
You're current on your mortgage payments?
Not at this time, no. They are in the process of being sold right now.
Is there a contract for the sale of the property?
Yes, there is a contract for the sale of the property. It's pending on other things, that's going on in the community. So,
You got a lot going on in your life, Mr.
I'm a very
Allen.
active man.
You're got a lot going on.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so she asked you for this $1,800, and what did you do, sir? I just wanted to get a sense, because I have to figure out who's pulling my leg and who's not.
I wrote her this check out from one of my bank accounts. I have numerous bank accounts because I have personal things, business things, and all that. And I actually wrote it out to her name and put loan on the memo. I handed this check to her on September 26th, and she took it, and I said, you can go right down the road and cash this check at my bank.
Where did you give it to her?
I gave it to her in the shopping center parking lot. I met her in Del Mar, Delaware, on the Delaware side. So that night, she called me back. She says, well, I don't think I can cash this check. I've lost my license, and I don't have a current checking account. I said, well, you can go right to the bank and cash this. I said, I made it out to you, and there's money in the checking account. She said, no, I'd rather you go to the bank and cash a check. And I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, but I would need this other check back. So the next day, I went to Laurie. This is my witness, Laurie Collins. Can I bring her forward, Judge? Or?
Who are you?
I'm a friend of John's.
What kind of a friend?
Close family friend for over 30 years.
Okay, go ahead.
So I went by Laurie's house. I discussed it with Laurie. I said, Laurie, I'm going to probably loan some money. I have loaned some money. She wants me to take the check back and go to the bank and cash the check and give her the $1,800. And Laurie said, well, just make sure that you keep this check here, the first check, if she gives it back to you.
First check is of no value.
Right.
Unless I can test for fingerprints on it.
Right. And then the second check is I wrote her name in the memo that I cashed this check. Here's
Yeah,
a
well,
legal.
that's what you wrote.
And I went to the
You
bank.
cashed the check and wrote her name in the memo.
Right. So I told Laurie, I said, Laurie, I have loaned this lady some money. I said, as a friend, I just wanted somebody to know that I had loaned her the money.
Was she there when you gave her the money?
No, ma'am.
Good, sit down.
And at the time I wrote the check out, I have bank accounts with different amount of figures in it. You know, right now, $25,000 on this. If I needed it, she claims that I needed the money for myself. I don't need
Just show
it.
me the account where you took out the $1,800.
Yes, right there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pool tables, big screen TV, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, all that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
And later today,
The only money that's owed is owed for the television.
Not entirely.
Most of it is for the television.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Allen claims former friend Karen Stevenson owes for a loan of $1,800.
Okay.
Your Honor, he states that the first check that he wrote me, he had $1,800 in that account. That's the check he first gave me. I subpoenaed his bank records. $1,800 was not in there. He had
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. He had $72.79 in
Let
that
me see.
account.
Can I see that check, please? Sir, you wrote her a check on 9/26 for $1,800. You didn't have $1,800 in that account.
Right.
On which you wrote this $1,800 check.
Right.
Well, why would you write her an $1,800 check and tell her to go?
Because I was going to make a deposit in the account. I moved money from different checking accounts. I have interest-bearing accounts with my business and everything like that. I move money when I need money to pay bills like
Yeah,
in
but
the
you
business.
didn't move any money here, sir. You didn't move any money here. 3 days later,
She
when-
gave me the check back because she said that she couldn't cash it.
I understand that.
Because she did
That
not have a
listen to
license.
me.
Yes, ma'am.
That was not the same day, sir. You already testified. It was the next day that she called you and said, I don't have a driver's license,
ma'am.
and therefore I can't cash this check.
Right.
Now, you had already told her to go and cash the check, which she could have done on 9/26.
That's right. That's right.
Okay? On 9/26, if she went to your bank,
Yes, ma'am.
and deposited that check, they would not have cashed that check because there was no balance in
They
that
could have
account.
moved the money from my business account, which is with the same bank, to cover my overdraft.
There's no overdraft privilege in here.
I'm sorry, I did lend this lady some money.
Go ahead.
He also says he gave me the $1,800. I was leaving that day to go out of town for a wedding. I was running around getting my nails done, my hair done. He didn't give me $1,800.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, let's start out with the conversation that you had with him about Lisa.
There was no conversation about Lisa. He knows she was in town for maybe a week or two. She moved back to Florida. I don't have a checking account. I don't have any checks. I haven't had a checking account in 3 years.
So you never had a discussion with him about a loan?
No,
Never had a discussion with him about giving you any money?
no.
Why do you think he would make up this convoluted story?
Your Honor, his business account had been frozen because he owes so many people money. Okay? He couldn't even make payroll. John and I continued to talk. We were good friends. He wanted me to help him take the money out of his county bank and put in a safety deposit box, put in my name, and he wanted to put the cash in there so they couldn't touch that money. Then I told him I didn't want to be involved in that because they're going to want to know where this $21,000 is. I didn't want that in my name. I didn't want any part of that. He tried to get several people to do that, and I wouldn't do it.
So what you're saying is he tried to get several people to accept checks
Yes.
from him
Yes.
and squirrel away the money
Yes.
in the event he decided to go through this with this bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
I mean, he says in one statement that I was supposed to pay him back in 2 weeks. John and I continue to be friends. He had a surprise birthday party for his brother. I was invited.
Don't tell me. Just tell me about the money.
There was no money.
Okay. When you told him that you didn't want to participate in this scheme,
Yes.
what did he say to you?
That he had a couple other people that were thinking about taking the money and putting it in a safety deposit box, storing his personal property so it wouldn't be auctioned off, which it has
What personal
been.
property did he want to store with you?
Pool tables, big screen TV, four-wheeler, living room furniture, kitchen furniture, I mean, bedroom suits. He had a 2-story house fully furnished. All that stuff has been auctioned off.
They've been auctioned off by whom?
An auctioneer.
At whose?
I guess at his request. I really don't know. I know that his house was for sale.
Did you have an auction?
Yes, ma'am, I did. To pay my debts and everything, the pool table, big screen TV, all that stuff was auctioned off to pay debts that I incurred during the divorce. I'm in process of selling 2 pieces of property, a business piece of property, all my assets to pay my debts. I am not filing for bankruptcy. I am
Well,
going to be
it's a little
paying.
more difficult now to file for bankruptcy,
Yes, ma'am.
sir, because what you're suggesting to me is if you own a piece of property that's worth $1.5 million and you have a $790,000 mortgage,
Yes, ma'am.
if you file for bankruptcy, you're not going to see any of that money.
Yes, ma'am.
So in order to see any of that money, if you pay off your creditors now, then you'll be able to maybe walk away with a couple of $100,000.
No, ma'am, I'm not going to walk away with anything. My assets are about $2.2 million. I owe about 2.1. So, time I pay auctioneers, realtors, all that stuff.
So it doesn't pay for you. So you have assets of $2 million and you have debts of about the same. So you can't go into bankruptcy. That
Right.
doesn't mean you're bankrupt. It just means that you have to go to work. My problem, Mr. Allen, is you seem to be a businessman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Business people, you have mortgages, you have attorneys, you have
Right.
all kinds of other things. And you're not unfamiliar with court.
Yes, ma'am.
So here you come to a court and you say, I made a loan to this lady. Put your hand down. I made a loan to this lady. I did not memorialize that loan in any way. This check is of no value
Right.
because she never endorsed it. I can take out my checkbook and write out a check to Petrie Hawkins Bird in the amount of $10,000 and say, I gave him this check.
Right.
He gave it back to me, and I gave him the 10 grand in cash. And this is some evidence that I gave him that money, right?
Right.
I didn't give you any money, did I? No. So this is evidence of nothing.
Right.
The only evidence that it is, sir, is that she subpoenaed this bank account, which says at the time you allegedly wrote this check out to her, you didn't have sufficient money to cover the check in the bank.
Right.
Now, you did have another bank
Yes, ma'am.
where you could have written a check that would have cleared.
Right.
As a matter of fact, according to you, you did just that 3 days later. You didn't go to this bank where you could have moved money around. You went to this bank where you took out $1,800. All of this leaves me with a very uneasy feeling, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
And if I have a very uneasy feeling, sir, the fact that you brought a witness that says that you told her all about this loan is of no value. So, Mr. Allen, it is possible, just possible, that you loaned her $1,800.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
You understand my problem with your proof, sir?
I understand. I understand.
Are you sympathetic with me, sir?
Yes.
Good. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm not very happy about it, but it's $1,800 lesson, I guess, and not loan money to friends who are supposed to be your friends.
He doesn't like my boyfriend.
People that are scammers will scam, and she'll continue to scam the rest of her life.
They were good friends, and I'm not dating John anymore. I'm dating a friend of his.
I really don't want to be associated with people like that.
It just didn't work out, but I'm better off without him in my life.
People should watch out for a lady like her because she is a scammer.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lawson versus Lemos, step forward, please.
Christine Lawson is suing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Lemos, for the cost of a big screen TV they purchased as a couple. Joseph says when they broke up, Christine kept the TV.
Miss Lawson, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend. You lived together for a period of time. Something happened while you were living together with your TV. You claimed that he wanted to buy a big screen TV. You put it on a credit card. You allowed him to use the credit card. He used it not only for the TV, but for some other things. He paid for the other things that he used. Ultimately, he paid off the credit card up to the amount of the TV after you broke up, and then he stopped paying for the TV. You want him to pay for the television. Sounds very reasonable, right?
Yes.
Except that you have the TV.
Correct.
So, I'm confused. Mr. Lema says that he did, in fact, use the credit card to purchase some other things. Even after you broke up, he continued to make payments on the credit card until he had paid off all of the items he had purchased, but for the television.
Correct.
And the reason he didn't pay for the television is because you have the television. When did you break up?
It's about April or May of 2006.
And when was the television purchased?
August of 2004.
So you've been watching the television
Correct.
in your house.
Yes.
Why don't you pay for it?
I never wanted it. I don't like it. I would love to give it back to him, but I don't have, I'm using it as collateral, I guess, to get the rest of the money that he owes me.
The only money that's owed is owed for the television.
Not entirely.
Most of it is for the television.
I guess you could say that.
What you want me to believe, Miss Lawson, is that he said to you, you can keep this $3,000 television and watch it, and I'm going to make the payments on it.
No, that's not how the conversation actually
Well, tell me how
happened.
conversation actually went.
Okay. When we broke up, there was still about $4,000 on the credit card, which, as you said, there was multiple things on there. He was paying me up until September of 2006.
Correct,
He was
and then he
making payments.
stopped. Right.
And he wanted to take his TV, which would have been fine to me. However, I couldn't guarantee that I would get the rest of the money that he owed me if I handed over the TV. I had no way of contacting him. I had no cell phone number. The only way I had was email. Most of the emails that I had sent him were ignored.
He paid you for the 6 months.
Well, he was paying on multiple things. That wasn't the only thing on there.
He paid the credit card honorably.
Correct.
Until the only thing left was a television that you were watching.
Well, the television was...
And he wanted it back when you broke up.
Correct.
Well, then you're watching it. You pay for it. I mean, it's not rocket science.
Well, the amount owed on the credit card exceeded what the amount of the television was.
When?
When we broke up, when he stopped
but
paying.
Come on, Miss Lawson. I just made it perfectly clear to you that there's an agreed set of facts, and the agreed set of facts are he paid until September when the only thing that remained on the credit card was the television set, which he had initially asked for when you broke up, which you declined to give him, which you've been watching and you've been using. You pay for it. That's all. Case is dismissed. That's all.
This is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Pinette versus Swartz.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Pinette, you were at a party with the defendant. I assume she was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that she took your car without permission and wrecked it.
She didn't wreck it. She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Swartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. So let's go back. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
Listen, Mr. Pinette, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No, except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Pinette. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't a date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset. Okay.
Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I felt, like I would forgive her. I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She says she's not responsible for that.
You had it diagnosed. What was the bill?
It was $1,500, not $1,593.83. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Mr. Panett, how did you pay for this?
My father loaned me the money to pay for it, actually.
Did you pay for it in check or cash, sir?
I believe my father used his credit card to pay for it, and I had to pay my father back.
What's your father's name?
John Panett.
His phone number?
It's in my cell phone, I'm sorry.
Bird, would you please get his cell phone so that we can get the father's number, please? Thank you. And he's going to verify that he paid this bill, sir?
Yes,
when I
he
call
would.
him on the phone? Good. We're going to do that.
Okay.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now, I'll hear you, Miss Swartz.
On December 14th, I was hanging out at Kip's house, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to go over to Jessica's house.
Where does Jessica live?
A few blocks from his house.
And he said?
He said yes, he let me borrow it.
Good. So you understand, Miss Swartz,
That's a different place than she was. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You do understand, madam, that you did have limited authority to take his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away. You understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now tell me what happened.
I drove over to Jessica's house and told her that I was using Kip's car, and she called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and woke me up.
At Jessica's house?
Yes. And told me she was drunk and stranded in Sunrise, so I didn't even think to call Kip and ask permission because he let me borrow his car. He knew I wasn't...
No, my dear.
He knew I wasn't going to bring it back until the morning. So I...
Darling!
Yes.
You get it now? You look as if you're smart enough to get where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to pick up your friend in Sunrise. And how far is Sunrise from Jessica's house?
Approximately 20 miles.
20?
Miles.
Miles, not blocks. Miles. And it was coming back with her, this drunken friend of yours, that you had the accident.
Yes.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was just driving and I was coasting, so I was in neutral. And then I tried to put it into gear and it would not go into gear. And I went to park immediately and I hit the curb and popped the tire. That was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
You must have hit the curb very hard.
Well, yes, it was hard enough to pop the tire. And I immediately changed the tire. And since it was about 5:30 in the morning, my friend that I picked up just walked to her house because we were about a block away. And I slept in the car and called Kip about 9 o'clock in the morning to tell him that I was going to get his car towed back to him.
Let us assume that I believe you, that Mr. Panett said that you could borrow his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away, to stay over. When you exceeded his permission by going 20 miles away the next day, you no longer had his permission. Do you understand that?
But he knew I was going to have it till the morning.
Don't tell me what he knew. He gave you permission, according to you, to drive it a few blocks. A few blocks is not 20 miles.
I have my witness here that saw him give me permission.
I just said, don't you have your listening ears on? I said, if I believe you, he gave you permission to take it a few blocks away. Once you took it 20 miles away, you no longer had permission.
Your Honor, he lets me borrow the car all the time.
That's not true.
Just a second. Where do you think you are?
Right here,
Where is here?
in this witness chair.
And until you stand up there, what are you supposed to do?
Listen to you.
Right. Once you exceeded the scope of the permission, you no longer had permission. That's the law. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So all I have to do is deal with the issue of damages. And for that, you're going to give me John's cell phone.
Yes, ma'am. Just let me power it up.
Power it up.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
And later today,
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That was life-changing.
Very much.
Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
John Panett, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Do you have a moment for just a couple of quick questions for me? I'm here, as you know, trying a case involving your son and this young woman who took his car without permission. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did he ever ask you for any money to help him repair this car? When was that? 3 months ago. Do you remember how much it cost you, sir? Approximately. And did you use your credit card? Did he pay you back that money? I know, I have children. Did he tell you how it happened? That he needed a new transmission? Was he driving the car? Okay. Very good. And you used a credit card? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time. Bye-bye now. What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a matter of fact, your father does remember helping you out and paying for this transmission a few months ago.
That's correct.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
Well, I owe him money pretty much all the time, and I am always paying him. So I'm in the process
that he
of
doesn't
paying him.
remember. I mean, he does remember laying this money out for you, but he doesn't remember the fact that you paid him.
I have not fully paid him back, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well, how much have you paid him, sir?
Well, I owe him a total of quite a bit more than that. So I guess if you got down to that bill, I haven't paid him any because I'm paying him for things that I owe him.
Well, you have no objection to making the check payable to your father, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,593.83 to be made payable to John Panett. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
It may take time, but we probably will be friends again.
Well, now that it's all been paid for, I would probably hang out with her again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lahore versus Tatum. Step forward, please.
Desiree Loire claims ex-boyfriend Anthony Tatum owes for unpaid rent from their shared apartment. Desiree also says Anthony slashed her comforter and put a hole in the wall.
I have a feeling it's advice time. Miss Loire, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And you also shared an apartment with him.
Yes.
You claim he owes you a whole bunch of money, dating back to 2005. You do know we're in 2007 now.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Tatum says he owes you nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice-looking couple. How old are you?
21.
And you?
22?
And you moved in together when you were 19 and you were 20.
Correct.
Old enough to sign a contract?
Yes.
Definitely.
So you signed a lease together?
Multiple.
Multiple leases together?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not talking about all the leases you signed together. I'm talking about the last one after you moved out, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. And it is the plaintiff's claim that you moved out, you owed her rent, you damaged some of her property, and you loaned him money in 2005 for some car insurance. That you don't remember. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at a Japanese restaurant as a bartender.
And you?
I'm a student.
How do you support yourself?
Currently, my parents do, ma'am.
Have you ever supported yourself?
For the past 3 years, yes.
So you just went back to school.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing for the last 3 years?
I was selling cars.
Did you make a living at it?
Very much so.
Why did you decide to go back to school?
I made a life-changing mistake of driving under the influence and lost my license.
That's a reason.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you injure anybody?
No, ma'am.
How long is your license suspended for?
It's no longer suspended. I just can't be picked up by the insurance of a dealership. Therefore, I'm back in school.
Gotcha. Okay. That was life-changing.
Very much. Learned a life lesson.
So I'm going to give you both another one. Don't ever move in with somebody and sign a lease together. Single people who want to try living together should always get an apartment that each of them can afford separately. Isn't that a smart idea?
Absolutely.
So that if it doesn't work out, somebody says, this is my apartment, that was our agreement, you leave, I can pay the rent all by myself. Of course, I understand that by saying this, I will probably lose 40% of the cases that I try each year, but I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the purpose of the common good. Right?
You will not lose a single case.
You know, he says that because nobody's going to listen to me. But if they did listen, there's a certain wisdom in what I say.
Yes, it is.
That way, 2 people wouldn't be homeless, 2 people wouldn't have their credit in the toilet, 2 people would not have to go back to mama or whatever. You would be able to separate and say, it didn't work out. Okay. So you signed this lease together when?
In September of 2005.
And when did you move out, sir?
October 30th of 2005.
Are you still living in the apartment?
No, I'm not.
When did you move out?
February of 2006.
So you only stayed there for a couple of months?
I was there for 6 months.
November, December, January. You stayed till the end of February?
September to the end of February.
I'm not talking about September. He left in October. Did you pay October's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
No, he did not.
Well, I didn't know that. How do I know that? 2 years ago. Let's talk about November, December, and January. 3 months that you lived there that he didn't.
Right.
Who lived with you there for those 3 months?
Nobody. I lived by myself. He refused to sign off the lease, so I was unable to.
You say there was somebody else living in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am. Her friend Tracy, who is also my friend, and her witness's friend, moved in at the beginning of November.
How do you know that, sir?
Because I went over there and she was living there.
You went over there when?
To get the rest of my stuff at the beginning of November.
How do you know she was living there?
Because my friend was her boyfriend at the time and he was also going over there.
That's completely untrue.
Did she stay there?
She stayed there occasionally. If we would,
How occasionally?
a couple nights a week. If we went out, she'd stay over. But no, she did not pay rent. None of her things were there.
Well, you should have. How to pay rent? How many bedrooms in this apartment?
1.
Where did she sleep when she stayed over?
In my bed.
Sir?
Well, I don't think someone who stays 2 nights a week should have to pay rent.
Why not?
I guess.
Was it your agreement with him to move out?
I asked him to move out, yes,
Oh,
because
then
he
you
was
pay the rent.
not paying rent.
Then you pay the rent.
Well, he should have signed off the lease, which he refused to.
And what did you do?
I couldn't do anything. He wouldn't sign off the lease. He kept threatening to come back and get the copies of the keys so he could come in. And
Madam, where were you the last 2 years?
the last 2 years, I've had my own apartment and house, and I've working and going to school.
I mean, but where were you in the last 2 years? If you moved out in February of 2006, now we're talking about a year ago.
Yes.
Where were you in this last year?
I was trying to collect money from him, but...
But he weren't collecting. He didn't give you any money.
Exactly, I couldn't.
Well, then why didn't you sue him in March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December? Why?
I was trying to be understanding of his situation with his car and everything like that, and he couldn't hold a job, so there's no way that he could give me any money.
What made you stop being understanding?
Well, because I'm just tired. It's ridiculous.
You lived in the apartment with sometimes Tracy? You pay the rent. What else?
He damaged my property, my couch, and stabbed my comforter.
Forget the comforter. I'm not interested in a 2-year-old comforter. How did he damage your couch?
He poured beer and dip spit all over it.
When?
On November 21st.
That's not true, ma'am.
You have a witness to that?
I do.
Go ahead.
On the day of November 21st, Desiree called me crying. I got over there. There was a gigantic hole in the wall when I walked in. The entire living room was trashed, stuff everywhere, food thrown around.
Where was he?
He was nowhere to be found.
Well, so you didn't see him do anything?
He was there that morning.
He was there that morning.
Just a second. You didn't see him do anything?
No, I didn't see him do anything, but the people that had stayed the night prior to that had seen him come over in the morning.
Goodbye. Thank you. You have that Mr. Tatum was the cause of any damage to your property.
Well, because he called me screaming after he did it.
What did he say?
I can't believe you had those guys stay the night.
What guys is he talking about?
We had been drinking at my apartment. I had friends stay the night.
How many friends?
2. They had slept on the couch. And that's when he came over that morning to get his things.
Yes.
And he freaked out.
How do you know that?
Well, because they told me they were there. And then he came in with a tire iron and hit the wall.
What?
And poured everything on my couch.
You have absolutely no proof that he did any of that. And if you have 2 friends that you allowed to sleep at your house after they were drinking who witnessed him do it.
They didn't witness him do it. They witnessed him come in and make a scene, and then they left, and then he came back after that. He told me. I talked to him on the phone afterwards.
Did you ever acknowledge to her
No,
that
ma'am.
you destroyed her property?
No, ma'am.
Time to move on. Time to move on and get over it. Do you understand?
Yes.
This is a court, not nonsense. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 461 on the calendar in the matter of Drennan versus Crowell. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Whose daughter is this?
Mine, Your Honor.
This is your wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Drennan, according to your complaint, your daughter, sir, and your stepdaughter came for a visit.
Yes.
And you had a snowmobile, decided to all go out snowmobiling. Where do you live?
In Lapine, Oregon.
Must be cold there.
Not bad.
Give me an idea.
Highs of about 30.
Highs of 30? When your daughter came to visit, how cold was it?
Oh, where we was snowmobiling, it's probably 28, 30 degrees.
And when did she come to visit, Mr. Drennan?
That was on December the 16th of 2006.
How long had it been since you had seen her?
It's been 4 or 5 months ago. We don't get along that much.
How old was she when she left your home, sir?
She lived with her mother.
She lived with her mother.
So you and her mother were divorced?
Yes.
For how long?
Quite some time, Your Honor.
About 18 years.
And you really never lived with your father?
No.
Did you have much of a relationship with him as you were growing up?
No. I would have liked more.
Well, that's his fault, not yours. When you say you don't get along, you didn't live with your daughter.
No, Your Honor. She is hard-headed. If you tell her not to do something, she's going to go against it. She's going to do what she wants.
How often did you see her as she was growing up, sir?
I seen her quite often.
Give me an idea. Every weekend?
No, it wasn't that much.
So give me some idea. Did you see her 3 times a year, 4 times a year?
Oh, it was like 3 or 4 times a year.
3 or 4 times a year. Okay. So your daughter came to visit you on December 16th, 2006, and you all went riding in the snowmobiles. And it is your claim that your daughter didn't listen to you, she drove your snowmobile, and she wrecked it, and you want her to pay for the damage. And your daughter says that you really ought to pay for her medical bills and a little pain and suffering because you let her drive the snowmobile knowing she didn't know how to drive it. That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Drennan. Who's going to speak, you or your wife?
I'll let my wife go ahead and then...
Michelle did live with us for a small amount of time when she ran away from home, and then she wasn't going to abide by our rules, so she went back to live with her mother again. And on this
We get
day...
to December 16th?
Yes. On December 16th, when we went snowmobiling, we drove around for a while, went to a few of the lakes.
Who's we?
Larry, our witness, myself, Michelle, Larry's grandson, and my son, and Mike.
How many snowmobiles do you have?
But altogether, we had 4 snowmobiles with us.
How many were yours?
2.
2.
She was on one?
She was riding on the
She
back
was
of
riding
mine.
with him.
Good.
We stopped at what's called a play area that we always stop at, and it's a steep hill. My son asked if he could side hill. If you snowmobile, when you side hill, you go just up the side of the hill a little bit, back down. My son did that a few times. Michelle asked several times if she could ride it. She stated to us at that time that she had went snowmobiling to Moon Mountain with her husband before and rode snowmobiles. And I let her on. It was approximately 2 minutes. She did 2 side hills, came back down, pulled up beside her father, which was sitting here. She pulled up here on the snowmobile. Brother was standing here. He said, "You did nice. Do not go up the hill any further." She looked at him, gave him a smirk, a smile, and took off full throttle. And that's when she hit the tree. Just before she hit the tree, she bailed off the snowmobile face first.
So, Ms. Drennan, I gather that the thrust of your complaint is that your stepdaughter exceeded the permission that you and your husband gave her by going up the mountain when you told her she should not go up the mountain, and therefore she's responsible for the accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm curious, Mr. Drennan, why did you tell her not to go up?
Because just by watching her ride around on the flat area where our 11-year-old was riding, I could tell that she has not been on a sled. But she did tell us, my witness heard her, said that she rode snowmobiles before.
Were you allowing your 11-year-old to go up the mountain?
No, ma'am. We told him to just go up on the side.
He just side hill.
Shh. I'm talking to him. You told him to go up just the side.
I told him how high to go. He knows how high to go. And
Don't tell me what he knows. Was he going up the mountain?
Maybe 10, 15 feet. He'd go up and come right through the curve.
And how far did your daughter go up the mountain?
About the same height as he did until she came back, pulled up next to me, and she had this funny look in her eyes. And I said, do not go up that hill, Michelle. She gave me a funny look and powered into it and went straight up it. Never hit her brakes, never tried to turn, and hit the tree.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
That's not what happened. We were playing, we stopped and played, and yes, I did go up on the hill. I watched my brother, and then I went. And then I pulled up next to him, and I said, Dad, can I go up that hill? He kind of looked at me and said, I don't know. And Shelly was in the background saying, I don't know, that's my snowmobile. I don't want it to get wrecked. And I looked over to the witness, and he's in the background telling me to go up. He's like, you'll be okay. Telling Mike, my dad, that she'll be okay. She's just going up the hill. That she'll be okay. And I said, can I go? And the guy in the back told me to go, and then my dad's like, all right, just be careful. And Shelly's just like, I don't know about this.
She said, your stepmother said, I don't know about this.
Yes. My dad showed me what was the throttle and what was the brake, and I went up the hill. He told me to lean forward as I go up the hill so I don't tip back. And that's when I went up the hill and I accidentally smacked into a tree.
Whose fault was it that you went into the tree?
It's mine, I guess, you know.
Oh, I'm asking you these questions because of your counterclaim. So my question is, why are you suing your father and your stepmother for your medical bills and for your pain and suffering if it was your fault that you had the accident?
You know, it wasn't like I intentionally went up there, you know, just to smack into a tree.
Well, you intentionally, just a second, you intentionally went up the mountain.
Yes.
It wasn't your intention to smack into a tree and injure yourself.
No.
Of course. Okay, the accident happened. How were you injured? Tell me what part of your body was injured.
I hit a tree head on. I flew and I went through their dashboard. I hit the tree with I had the helmet on, hit the tree with my head, and then my knee broke off the key when the key was in the ignition, and I flew off. And I remember kind of looking up and then kind of just passing out. And then I remember my dad and Shelly and everybody came up, and then my dad was yelling at me, calling me names and cussing at me, telling me I was just like my brother, that I don't listen. He was calling me the B word. He was just going off on me, and I was just crying. I couldn't even get up. He was yelling at me to get up. He went to go try to get me up, and I told him, don't touch me. And then that's when Shelly kind of came over and, you know, asked if I was okay. And, you know, I said, my knee is really hurting. I can't move it. And she kind of helped me up and helped me down the hill.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What would prompt a father who has had little contact with his daughter most of her life to sue her over an accident?
Damaged her health.
Don't speak. Try to have an original thought.
And later today,
why did you let her take the puppy without any money?
When she came, she indicated she has been through some turmoil, and I felt sorry for her.
You're a scam artist.
No, ma'am. No.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael and Shelley Drennan claim Michael's daughter, Michelle Crowell, crashed their snowmobile and refuses to pay for repairs. Michelle is countersuing for her medical bills and pain and suffering.
What was wrong with your knee?
I had a fracture. I have a chipped bone, chipped out almost a quarter size. They think I tore my ACL. They want to do some more work on it.
Were you in a cast?
No, because I could still move it. That's only if it's completely broke.
Can I see the medical report, please?
Just all of it.
Who is this?
This is my husband, Tom.
Okay. Mr. Drennan, what did you say to your daughter when you got to the spot where she crashed the snowmobile?
When she took off and hit the tree on her, I jumped on mine I was sitting on. I fired up and I shot up the hill and bailed off. And she was here, the machine was, and she was over here, laying there. And I said, Michelle, can you get up? Well, I think I can. And I said, get up in case, you know, like the machine is going to catch on fire or something. Larry and his grandson came up behind on their sled to help me get it away from the tree. I never cussed at her. I just told her, Michelle, you need to listen when people tells you stuff.
Well, that's, sir, that is quite frankly,
and
listen to me, that's quite frankly pretty consistent with what she told me, that if you said to her, in not that tone, you got to listen when people tell you to stop. It's not something you say to your child when your child is laying there in the snow, semi-conscious as a result of an accident. That's bizarre, Mr. Drennan.
Your Honor, this is a helmet. If she hit her head You can see there's no damage.
What difference does it make?
It's just that she's not telling the whole truth what happened.
I don't understand the point of you bringing the helmet to show me that, sir.
She says she hit her head. Show me.
Well, what do you think she hit?
She never hit her head.
Well, what did she hit?
She ran into the tree. We got pictures.
But she ran into a tree, evidently sufficient force to damage your snowmobile. According to you, $2,900 worth. That would be a pretty substantial hit, right, Mr. Drinnan? That would be pretty substantial. Otherwise, why would you be here suing your child for $2,900 as a result of an accident? So it would have to be substantial. So I don't understand the reason that you brought me this helmet to show me. I'm speaking. Try to put on your listening ears. Why would you bring the helmet to show me that she didn't hit her head in an accident that you are saying caused $3,000 worth of damage? You have an answer for me?
She never hit her head on the tree or nothing.
She wasn't complaining of a head injury, sir. She complained of a knee injury.
Well, in our paper...
She just said she hit her head on the tree a minute ago.
Right, but she didn't say that her head was injured.
Okay, well, here's the snowmobile suit that she was wearing. This is the slight tear that's in the knee. This is the only tear that's in the knee. If you'd like to look at the whole outfit.
I don't.
I've got photos
Quite frankly,
showing
I don't
her
get
in
you.
outfit.
Either one of you. I don't get either one of you. How many children do you have? How many children do you have?
Between the two of us, we have two.
Between the two of you, you have two?
Right.
You have a brother?
Yes.
How old?
He is now 18.
I mean in our direct family right now, in the household.
I didn't say household. I said how many children do you have? He does have children that have nothing to do with you.
6
How many children?
4.
6.
There were 6 total.
How many children do you have, sir? Try to have an original thought. How many children?
6.
How many children have you sued?
None, Your Honor.
You should have kept it that way. What prompts a father who has had marginal contact with his children after a divorce, marginal, 3 times a year, according to you, to sue his 20-year-old daughter, who doesn't have money, over an accident? I'm not talking to her. That's the stepmother. She has nothing to do with this case. Does your wife work?
Part-time.
Part-time, she can't afford to buy a snowmobile. So she has nothing to do with this case. So I'm asking you, sir, what would prompt a father who has had little contact with his 20-year-old daughter most of her life to sue her over an accident?
She damaged her house.
Don't speak. Answer my question.
Your Honor, I've tried to get along with her, and I told her, when you come over, you will do what we say when we're out there snowmobile. She went against what I said, and now I've got to pay the consequences with...
Yeah, that would be right. You're a father. I mean, I have children, sir. They've taken my car and done things that they shouldn't have, you know, and make up stories. The car got down the embankment because the earth gave way underneath it, and that's how it ended up in the bottom of a ravine. A lot of other such stories, sir, none of which made sense to me. And I may have grounded them, and I may have said to them, you're not going to use my car again, or you're not going to use my snowmobile again. But it wouldn't cross my mind to take a step and go to a small claims court to sue one of my children over an accident, especially an accident where they were injured, and to listen to the stepmother saying, well, she didn't hurt her knee that badly because just there's, look, a small cut in that. Let me show you the small cut that's there. I can show you the medical. Put your hand down. How many children do you have?
Myself, 2.
How old are they?
18 and 11.
Where does the 18-year-old live?
She lives in Arizona right now.
What does she do?
She's engaged and she works at a restaurant.
How old was she when she left your home?
17.
A minor. Who did she go to live with as a minor?
She went with her grandmother to Arizona, and now she has a place with her fiancé.
Great. You get my drift, Mr. Drinnan?
Yes, I do.
Good. Your case is dismissed. Take the helmet and leave.
Please excuse, you may step out.
Sad because I don't want to lose the relationship with my dad.
The way she's acting, no.
It's always been me trying to contact him and establish a relationship.
There won't be no relationship.
I'm not going to anymore because this is what I get.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Chatterley versus Leyva. Step forward, please.
Marie Chatterley is suing 23-year-old Desiree Leyva for failure to pay for a purebred pug. Desiree claims Marie has been harassing her.
Miss Chatterley, according to your complaint, you were selling your pug puppy, and you advertised for the puppy. The defendant answered the ad, came to your house, spoke to your husband. Are you the husband?
Yes.
Stand up, please. The defendant came to the house. You were there, sir, on what date?
It's July the 9th.
And did she take the puppy?
Yes, she did.
What was the asking price for the puppy?
It was $500, but we agreed on $450 to be delivered the following day.
Why did you let her take the puppy without any money?
Well, when she came, she indicated she was a single mother with 2 small children, been through some turmoil, and I felt sorry for her. So I was trying to be accommodating and helpful. That's why I agreed on $450 to be paid the following Friday, which she agreed to do.
Okay. And the following Friday came, and she did not pay the money.
That is correct.
Why?
The agreement that he just stated, that's not how it was. He had told me that I could make monthly payments of $50 to $60. And I had called him and told him I couldn't make it because I had a doctor's appointment I had to go to. And he said that it would be fine to call him later in the week.
Listen. I read your answer. And your answer says, well, I didn't make an arrangement with her. I made an arrangement with the husband. I took the dog because I wanted to see if the dog fit in with the rest of my family. And then I ran into some financial difficulties and I couldn't pay for the dog right away. And then she started calling and harassing me, and she called me 42 times to either return the dog or pay the money. And because of her actions, I'm not paying for the dog and I'm not returning the dog. Wrong!
I didn't say I wouldn't pay for the dog. I don't think I owe her for the dog.
Listen, did you pay for the dog?
No.
Then the dog goes back to them.
Okay.
Fine. Great.
Fine.
You want the dog back?
No, Your Honor.
No.
Why not?
That breed of dog didn't work with that other dog we already had at home.
What kind of dog do you have?
Yorkshire Terrier, a 3.5-pound Yorkie. And we had Lola for 2 weeks, and it was too aggressive with our other dog. So that's when we decided.
Well, they're not aggressive. They're adorable. I
They
love
are.
pugs.
They are adorable.
I love pugs. They're spirited. They're like clowns.
They were playfully. She was playfully too aggressive with our other dog, and she ripped her ear off, and she was just.
By accident. I mean, she wasn't hurt.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Playfully, yes, Your Honor.
How old is she now?
She was born February 22nd, ma'am.
How does she fit in with the rest of your family?
Everybody loves her. My kids play with her. I mean, I've never seen an aggressive bone in her body.
Well, just a second. How much money have you given her for the dog?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Well, that's outrageous, madam.
Yes, but I made agreements with Steve
I don't care
Chatterley.
what agreements you made. You have paid nothing for this dog. And if they didn't sue you, you would have continued to pay nothing.
No,
You're a
ma'am.
scam artist.
No, ma'am. No.
Yeah,
He
you
agreed
are.
to me. No, ma'am. He agreed that I told him I could not pay for the dog and I would bring it back. He told me he could not take the dog back at the time, and that if I bred her to bring him a puppy or the money off of a puppy.
Did you say that to her?
No, I did not agree to that. She offered that, but as...
She offered to breed the dog and give you a puppy instead.
Yes.
And the money, too.
No, Your Honor.
Well, and the money, but later it was just the...
But later on, it was just the breeding. So
Yes.
she was trying to get away without giving you any money.
Yes.
That's exactly what she was trying to do. I never heard of such a thing. You go for a dog, somebody who's... Where do you live, sir?
In Spanish Fork, Utah.
God, must be really kind, gentle people in this country that I don't know about, right? I never knew anybody that let you take a dog. I'd say take it home. See how it fits in with the rest of your family. If it's okay, then you pay me. If not, you can bring it back. Oh, I took it home, and it really likes my family, but I can't pay you. Well, that's okay, because, you know, you're a single mom, you have young children. I don't know people like that. Maybe it's growing up in a hardcore city that makes you like that. You have to pay for the dog. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $450. If you wanted the dog back, I would have given you the dog back. But since you don't, and it appears to
Your
be
Honor.
just fine.
Your Honor.
What?
There were some expenses that we have to look for an address for her on the internet.
Yep.
So she could be served.
So?
For $62, and the money that the constable had to serve her home twice, because the first time she told the constable she didn't live there.
I only talked to them once.
That's $100 on top of
I think you're absolutely right. I think she should cover those expenses. Modified judgment, $550.
Thank
That's
you,
all.
Your Honor.
Yeah, this is case number 413 on the calendar in the matter of Tuck versus Bassett. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Mrs. Bassett, what kind of establishment do you own?
We run a food establishment. It's a restaurant.
A restaurant. How many people does it seat?
About 200 to 250.
All right, Mr. Tuck, this is your complaint. Miss Bassett hired you around Christmas time to be a Santa Claus in her place of business. And you went there, you performed once as Santa Claus, and you were supposed to be available 4 weeks in a row. You did what you did with the customers once, and you were told not to come back because Miss Bassett wasn't satisfied with your performance. Miss Bassett says that she wasn't satisfied with your performance. She paid you the $125 that you earned that evening by being there, but she had serious misgivings about whether or not you would be an asset to her establishment for the remainder of the Christmas season. You did, in fact, hire somebody else.
That's correct.
Okay. I think the whole thing involved, at least part of it, was this tip jar, which I see out here, which is something that has to do with Santa Claus. Can I see that thing over there, please? Thank you. Bird, what does that say in there?
Santa's Eggnog Fund tips.
Did you prepare that, Mr. Tuck?
Actually, my wife did.
Okay. Did you tell her that it was in bad taste?
Well, I had received a $3 tip for one particular person, and I didn't have any place to put it.
Well, but were you expecting tips when you signed on for this job?
No, I never.
So why didn't you return the $3 tip and said, Santa doesn't take tips? Santa loves little children.
Well, it was from the father.
Loud enough for the child to hear you. Santa doesn't take tips. Santa
Well, the
doesn't.
children, it was in a discreet manner, and that's why I tried to quickly dispose of it in my glove.
Good. So you quickly disposed of it in your glove, and then your wife made a jar for more.
Well, it was, I thought it was a rather unusual opportunity.
Well, it's not. It's ridiculous. I used to take my children to see Santa Claus all the time when they were little. Never once did I see a Santa Claus tip jar. Mr. Tuck, how many times have you played Santa before?
I had played a number of times the previous season.
Where?
In the same community.
Name of this place?
In December 2005, there were different Boy Scout troops, churches.
Give me the name of a place that I can call where you played Santa Claus, sir.
Okay, off the top of my head from 2005, I don't immediately recall.
2004.
I did not previously do that.
So this was your first paid engagement as Santa Claus?
No, I had a number of paid engagements in 2005.
But you don't remember any of them? Put your hand down, madam. It's not you who was hired. Miss Bassett, in her answer, says that she was unhappy with the performance. Why?
Well, first of all, he came in, he sat down, didn't approach kids, he was drinking Coke, okay? Then customers would come and approach us and said, you know, we want to take a picture of our kid with Santa, but there's a tip jar over there. Which, I mean, who does that?
No.
Santa don't ask for tips. So after the night was over, we sat down and we discussed it, me, my managers, and my crew, and we decided, you know, people weren't happy. He wasn't cheerful. He wasn't approaching, again, the kids. He was drinking Coke by the popcorn machine, and that's all he did.
Okay. Did you have a written contract with him?
No.
You agreed to pay him $125 each time he performed?
He was charging $25 an hour. We never agreed to a certain amount of hours a night.
Okay, $25 an hour, and he was there 5 hours, so you gave him $125?
That's correct.
Did you get $125?
Yes, I did.
Fine. You're suing her, Mr. Tuck, for $412.50 lost wages. What lost wages did you have?
Well, we had a verbal agreement in which she had agreed weeks in advance of the date in which we had began the process.
Mr. Tuck, what lost wages did you have, sir?
The $125 per day that remained.
Name a place that you turned down for a job because you had this previous engagement that I can call where you turned down a job. You weren't performing at her restaurant every night, once a week, right? Once a week. Okay, name. Put your hand down.
I did all his business.
Listen to me. I'll get to you in a minute. Name a place, Mr. Tuck, that I can call where you turned down business.
Dentistry for Kids was one that...
Dentistry for Kids?
Yes, they had requested the entire week, and because that one particular Tuesday was locked up with this client, they simply opted for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
So did you work for them Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Yes, I did.
Good for you. You want to get up?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. What?
We had a verbal agreement. She asked me back in October if we needed a contract because I handle all of his business. On October 27th, I have an email that I sent to her. Down here was the picture that was attached that she used to create advertisements that specifically list the dates and the times that he would be there. With the tip jar, what happened was I had dropped him off. I brought our family back up approximately 5 p.m. I dropped him off at 4. Our family came in to eat dinner. And he came over to me and he said, what do I do with this? He handed me the $3. I went back home. I got the Santa mug that the kids usually leave for...
I got what happened, madam.
Well,
what
it
I'm
was
telling
not
you is,
prepared.
It was prepared?
It was not prepared prior to the engagement. It was only after our family went for dinner that I went home and I decorated
I understand exactly what you're saying. He put it out. It was out in the restaurant while he was working. Put it down. It was out in the restaurant while he was working.
Completely away from where the
I
customers
don't care
were.
whether it was completely away or not. You're not faced with a situation where Miss Bassett didn't want a Santa Claus in her establishment. She hired somebody else.
She's misrepresenting that because I asked her how she felt it went. She thought it was fine.
Listen to me. Why do you think she let him go and hired somebody else to work the weeks that he was supposed to work?
When we left, she said, I'll see you next Tuesday. She
and
said
then
that.
she spoke to her employees, and it didn't go well.
But
listen to me. My question to you is, why do you think she let your husband go and hired somebody else to work those weeks?
She did not have a Santa that following Tuesday. People from the community showed up, and we had already filed the small claims, and that is when she hired the other Santa. We talked to the other Santa.
Why do you think she would? You're not answering my
hired-
question, Miss. Listen, Miss Tuck. You're not answering my question.
She hired the other one because children came to see Santa that following Tuesday, and there was no Santa.
So she could have hired. Mister, you're not getting it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If all you're doing is playing Santa Claus, you would remember those things. There's a reason that he doesn't remember. Don't go any further, Miss Tuck. I'm promising you that you should not go further.
And later today,
Why don't you think that you have a responsibility, Mr. Scott, to pay back this money instead of buying those great shoes? You get my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Tuck claims former employer Karina Bassett owes for illegally firing him from his job playing Santa Claus. Karina says Michael was soliciting tips from customers.
She was dissatisfied with his service.
She was not.
Yes, she was dissatisfied with his service. Otherwise, there was absolutely no reason. And he gave her cause. She's entitled to not continue your services, sir. If she didn't continue your services, she didn't continue them for cause, because this tip jar is the most ridiculous thing I ever saw. And he's not entitled to a job. He's not entitled to a job unless you have a written employment contract, which you do not have. And I do not believe, quite frankly, that he turned down other jobs for Tuesday night, because there's a reason that he doesn't remember.
When he
listen, he's retired. You're a homemaker.
Yes.
If all you're doing is playing Santa Claus, you would remember those things, unless there's a problem. Don't go any further, Miss Tuck. I'm promising you that you should not go further. There's a reason why she did not continue with his employment. Leave it at that. He worked one day. He was paid for that one day. Leave it at that. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I had a lot of complaints about the tip jar.
Something in poor taste can easily be resolved by simply saying, don't bring the tip cut.
And if, you're not doing the right thing, we need to let you go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Anderson versus Scott, step forward, please.
Christine Anderson is suing her older sister, Jennifer Scott, for $5,000 in unpaid loans. Jennifer claims the money was part investment and part gift.
Miss Anderson, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Older or younger?
Oldest.
According to your complaint, you made 2 loans to her. One
Yeah.
to help her cover her mortgage when she was starting a new business. She fell behind in her bills. And the other when she needed some money so that she could continue her business. You want your money back.
Yes, ma'am.
Your sister says, while she does acknowledge that you paid her mortgage twice, she said you did so as a gift to her. There was never any expectation of being repaid. And with regard to the second amount of money that you gave to her, it was a business investment. And because of her own negligence, all of her product got stolen, so you lost your investment. That be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You married lady?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
2.
What does your husband do for a living?
He works for the city.
What about you?
I'm a daycare owner.
You own your own home?
Mm-hmm.
Have a mortgage?
Mm-hmm.
How big?
It's not compared to what they have here. it's about $120,000.
It's a lot of money. How much do you earn a year? About
$60,000.
And your husband?
About 45.
Got a lot of savings?
Not really.
Have a car?
Mm-hmm. Payment.
What kind of car?
2005 Tahoe.
And what about your husband?
He has a 2002 F-150. Payments on it.
How old are your children?
7 and 4.
And you? Married?
Yes, ma'am.
Husband?
Yes.
How long are you married?
4 years.
Have children?
Yes.
How old?
17, 9, and 2 2-year-olds and 1 on the way.
What does your husband do for a living?
He's a barber.
What do you do for a living?
We own a business together.
What kind of business?
Hair business.
What kind of hair business?
He cuts hair. It's a shop.
Is this your husband?
Yes.
So you work in the shop with him?
No, ma'am. I stay home. My name's just on the business.
So you have a 17-year-old, a 9-year-old, twin to a 2, and you're expecting another child.
Correct. Well,
A lot of children. Somebody that can't afford to keep up their bills.
Yes, ma'am.
Lot. Okay. Tell me about the first amount of money that you gave to your sister.
The first one I did was about the 20th of the month of June last year, and she hadn't paid her mortgage yet. She couldn't afford to pay it, so I offered to help her. I said, I'm
Tell
going to
me how
need
that came about.
Well, we talked on the phone a lot. We were close at one point, and she just said basically that things had gone downhill. The shop wasn't making as much money at the time, and she fell behind on her mortgage. And it was already the 20th month. She didn't know what she was going to do. So I said, well, I can help you, but how fast do you think you could pay it back? She said, within a couple months, no problem. At the time, she was going to New York and buying handbags, and she'd bring them back to her shop and sell them for much higher markup. And according to my dad, who is a retired chief of police, she was doing really well because he lives up in Michigan with her too. So I had no reason to doubt it. So I went ahead and I phone paid her mortgage for her, and I have that.
Can I see it, please?
Yep. And when I had paid it, I called her back and I said, it's highlighted. I said I went ahead and...
You want to stand up with your wife, please?
I went ahead and I paid, the mortgage. She said, well, Chris, it is the 20 whatever of the month. That was for this month. And I said, so you need another month? And she said, yeah. And I said, you see what I can do, And so I went through my bills and stuff, and I said, well, I'll go ahead and I'll write you a check and I'll send it. I have that.
Can I see it, please? She doesn't deny it, that you gave her that money. She said it was a gift. Okay. Let me...
You have my bank statements, ma'am?
I got it.
You can see that I don't have that kind of gift.
I got it. No, I got it.
Okay, so okay, sorry.
So let me hear.
Well,
what months was this that you fell short? June of 2005?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Scott, you were living in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
You lived in a house where your sister-in-law paid the mortgage?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of responsibility do you feel as the man of the house, as the head of the household, to pay her back?
As far as I knew, it was she just gave us the money.
She was helping us
That's
out.
not what I asked, madam. I asked him, he's living in a house with his children and his wife and his sister-in-law, who's a working woman with a working husband, just like you are. I mean, the fact that you made all these children, she doesn't have to suffer for that. She's got 2 children. You got a whole gaggle of children. So why don't you think that you have a responsibility, Mr. Scott, to pay back this money?
Because she never expressed it in that way.
I'm not asking you whether you believe that there was a loan. I'm asking you, Mr. Scott, why it is that you don't believe you have, irrespective of what I decide today, the moral obligation to say, I'm not going to be supported by my sister-in-law. That's ridiculous. She doesn't have any obligation to support me. She's a struggling lady, just like we are. She's got house payments, she's got car payments, she's got everything else. I fell off a little bit. It may take me a little time. I'll send you $50 here and $100 there in order to get it paid up. That's what I'm asking you, sir, instead of buying those great shoes. You get my drift?
Yes, ma'am.
You got enough time to make another baby, sir. You got enough time to get another job. Sit down. You owe your sister the mortgage money. Outrageous. Now, after you gave her the mortgage money, let's get to the other stupidity. After you gave her the mortgage money that she didn't pay back, let me hear the rest.
After that, it was a few weeks later, she called and she said, just business isn't picking up. I don't have the money to go to New York again. It cost me at least $700 to make the trip. She was going like every couple weeks to New York to get these things. She should have just saved the money and made one gigantic trip, but she didn't. Anyway, she needed money to get up there to make money to pay me back. And
so it was insurance?
Yes. My husband was really already upset about it. So this was the best way possible I knew to help her, help herself, and help get the money back for us.
So you gave her another what?
First it was $1,000, and then 3 days later it was $2,000 more, which I have bank transfers here. These are not gifts. This is...
Okay.
Then she came down in November, and I brought my mom with me today as my witness to this. She came down for Thanksgiving, I think it was, and everything was fine for the couple days, and then all of a sudden we ended up getting into it over the money. My husband and I we couldn't handle it no more. We needed the money back. And she ended up writing me a check for $600 because it was total, if you total all this up, it was $5,700. She wrote me a check for $655. I deposited into the bank. She ended up leaving and didn't even say goodbye to my mom. You know, she was just so upset or whatever. She felt like I was being horrible about the whole situation, that I wanted the money back. When this was, from the jump, this was not an investment. This was a loan. This was trying to help her help herself. And
let's go. I'm ready to hear you.
It was an investment.
Let me hear.
She gave me the money as an investment. She was helping me out. I was supposed to pay her back the money from that money. From the $3,000, I was supposed to pay back, you know, what I owed her from that money. Well, what happened?
Listen to me. There's something else going on with your sister. I'm telling you.
Like what?
I'm not going there. I'm telling you, there's something else going on with your sister.
Well, go there, because, I mean, you're insinuating. What are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating, madam, that...
What are you insinuating?
I want to see the police report where you say you brought a woman into your house who ended up stealing your car and all the product that you... I'm speaking.
Oh, my God. Serious.
I'm speaking. It ended up stealing your car and all the products that you had purchased, and that's why you couldn't pay her back. So that was...
We made a couple trips. I already requested the police report. It didn't get here in time. But we had made a couple trips during that time with that $3,000, and I got caught up on my bills with that money. And then we made one big trip, and when we came back, I was helping somebody out, you know, that was in our home. When we came back from New York,
who were you helping out that was in your home?
It was a friend of ours. Well, she was, you know.
Something else is going on. I don't have to get into it now. It's totally irrelevant, really, to this, but your money was going maybe to pocketbooks.
What I was told about the whole car theft situation was this lady, she let her friend use her car. Her friend never came back.
Listen to me.
And
That's not what happened. That's not even what happened. She's lying.
Listen to me.
She's lying.
Listen
we came back from
listen to me.
We came back from New York.
It's not relevant, particularly relevant. I'm just telling you, something else is going on. Anyway, your sister owes you the money. The fact that she decided not to pay you after she took the money from you is unfortunate. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Now, this is case number 401 on the calendar in the matter of Mendelson versus Luna. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Miss Mendelson, this is your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your complaint, your son and the defendant and some other boys, maybe some of these boys here, were friends.
Yes, they used to.
Well, you say that they didn't treat him nicely and they used him for rides and stuff when they needed him.
Right, Your Honor.
But at some point, according to you, this young man posted some very, very rude things about you.
Right, Your Honor.
On something called MySpace.
Right, Your Honor.
MySpace is one of these internet sites where people who have nothing better to do with their time go and chat about a whole bunch of nonsense.
Right, Your Honor.
Is that about what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that about right?
Right.
That's about right.
You know, I always said that we could eliminate probably a third of the problems in this country if people actually had to shovel coal in a furnace for heat rather than spending all that spare time that they have making problems for other people and sitting behind their computers doing things other than for which computers were originally designed. Mr. Luna says, First Amendment. I can post anything I like on the internet because there's free speech in this country. That is your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you think the Constitution says, Mr. Luna?
Well, first of all...
I didn't ask you first of all. That required a yes or a no answer, sir. Is that what you think the Constitution says? That you can say anything you want to about anybody?
On certain grounds, yes. But I believe that I didn't write anything that really damaged her reputation as she claimed.
All right. Well, then let's see what you said, because I had no clue about what you said here. First, Mr. Luna, since there is no issue, sir, that you posted these things about Mrs. Mendelson on this internet site, I'd like to know why you did it.
Okay. Well, it all started when myself is
the same person, I assume, unless you're bipolar.
Me and my friends were talking just online, just joking while we were waiting for our classes. And then we just talked about certain stupid things, I know. And then...
You talked about stupid things while you were waiting for change of classes in college?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, we were online.
Who's paying for your school?
My father.
Your father is paying for you to
Yes.
be in school and talk about stupid things with your friends in between classes? Is that what you think you're paying for, sir?
Not really.
Good, perfect. Love to hear it. You and I are going to get along just fine. Go ahead.
Well, we were just waiting for our classes because
I don't care why you were waiting for your classes. I asked you why you said bad things about Mrs. Mendelson.
Well, it was just to relieve our stress and frustrations.
Why don't you
from
get a
her.
job?
Well, I had school. I'm a full-time college student.
Well, then why are you writing about Mrs. Mendelson to relieve your stress?
Because beforehand, she was making comments about us, me and my friends, specifically.
Oh, on the internet?
No, like to her son.
So she was having a private conversation with her son about you and your friends?
Yes, and then...
She's allowed to do that?
Yes, but it was very rude and very untrue. And she assumed many things, and she would tell him...
Who cares? Who cares what she assumed? She's having a private conversation with a child. She's not publishing anything. Let me see what you wrote about her.
I have it right here.
Did your father see it?
Yes.
When did you show it to him?
About a month ago.
When did you write it?
October 26th.
So why did you wait so long to show your father?
Well, because number one, I was trying to handle my own business. And then the month after October 26th, I actually forgot about the conversation because that is a conversation between me and Derek.
You know what I find most distressing about this, Mr. Luna? Is that you're illiterate, and so is your friend. And that your family is wasting a whole lot of money sending you to college and getting an illiterate person at the end. Mr. Luna?
Can I say something, Your
Mr.
Honor?
Luna, did you read this?
Yes, Your Honor. I read it lately, Your Honor.
Stand up, sir.
May I say something about the case, Your Honor?
No, you may say nothing about the case, sir. You may answer my questions. First of all, Mrs. Mendelson, I have just read this.
Yes.
Okay? This is not actionable, which means that you can sue, but you're not going to win. What is written here, if I can read it,
Yes,
because
Your Honor.
it looks like it's written by somebody who was educated in some third world country where they only go up to kindergarten. Watch what? W-A-T? You say about her, cuz, C-U-Z. She might come to your house, Y-R, and do crazy, and that's a bad word, I'll leave that out, like castrating you and sewing I'll use a different word, testicles back on backwards and sewing your foot and you with it. Okay? It's stupid. Do you know what? That's what you're complaining about, right?
Yes,
Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to me. I didn't know what he had said about you. What he said about you was stupid. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody's thinking you're going to come to somebody's house and you're going to do that to them. He's just being stupid. So it doesn't even amount to free speech. It amounts to the rantings of some juvenile who's just being dumb. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I was really upset because...
Well, I can understand you were upset, but
I'm
that's
not
not
an
actionable.
immoral
Now,
person.
was this young man your friend, Mr. Luna?
Yes, we were very close.
You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was jokingly.
Well is not an answer, sir. You say if you were very, very close. Why do you say bad things about him in here?
It's friendly banter between us. That's what we do.
Who was bantering here? Not him.
Well, it's between
No.
me and...
Between you and him.
Yes.
Not you and him. You weren't bantering with each other, calling each other funky names. You were bantering with him, and you were making fun of him. Mr. Luna, that makes you not a very nice person when you say he was a friend of mine.
Yes, but all of us are friends. We do the same things to each other. But
Does he have a car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
No.
Who drove you around?
Well, sometimes Irving drives me around. Sometimes my friend Manuel or Derek recently. But it's not like I'm...
It's not like you're using him or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
And later today,
You had a court date you don't remember? What kind of court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anita Mendelson claims her son's former friend, Christian Luna, slandered her on the internet. Christian says he has the right to free speech.
Mr. Luna, your son did a disrespectful thing, but not actionable. So you don't have to worry. He doesn't have to pay Mrs. Mendelson any money. I don't know if he's a nice young man or not a nice young man. Only you know that.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
He's a nice young man. In fact, he helped Irving in his religion class, and he's kind of mentoring this guy. I mean, they were friends, Your Honor, and it
Did
all
you read
started...
this?
Yeah, I know. I read it. But it all started when Mrs. Mendelssohn tried to blame my son and his friends that they are using drugs.
Yes.
And she's trying to, separate his son from these guys who are nice people. I just don't know why Mrs. Mendelssohn is so mad at my son.
Maybe you want to tell me, Mrs. Mendelssohn?
The truth, Your Honor, is that I never said that they're using drugs. It was a lie. What I told my son is that because I saw a lot of this abuse from Christian sending all those messages against him, and I told my son, stop giving him a ride and transfer to other school. And I didn't mention anything about drugs. You're wrong.
Who told you that Mrs. Mendelssohn accused you of using drugs?
Her son.
He told you?
Yes.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly, Irving?
Well, she said that she doesn't want me hanging around people who do drugs.
Okay, so?
And in that sense, that's what I said to Christian.
But she never accused Christian of doing drugs? No. That's your answer, Mr. Luna. What else?
I would just like to clear something out. I didn't use Irving to give me rides. I don't just randomly call him and like, oh, can you give me a ride to this so-and-so place? I would ask him a ride if we were going there together. But I've never used them just
Christian, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Having access to a machine like a computer and access to a place like MySpace where you can say very damaging and hurtful things doesn't mean that you should use it. When you write something like this, even though it sounds asinine, juvenile, and stupid, it was still hurtful to Mrs. Mendelssohn. It's not the kind of thing that the courts will take action about, but it's the kind of things that you shouldn't write about one person because it's just unkind. And you can't hide behind the cloak of anonymity when you do that because it's out there for millions and millions and millions of people to read. And it's hurtful. And I say this to you and to your friends and to you and anybody else who uses the internet. Once you put something down and go send, or whatever you do, because I don't use that machine, it's out there, and it's out there forever, and it's hurtful. You have to be careful. Now, what your son said about her was unkind.
I know that, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you tell him he did the wrong thing? Tell him to apologize to her?
In fact,
say, shh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mendelssohn.
Okay.
That's it.
Just don't do it again, ever.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I agree with Judge Judy that what I wrote is obscene.
I just hope he will stop the abuse towards my son now.
And I agree that it was offensive, but I am really sorry about it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Corville versus Corville. Step forward, please.
Tina Corville is suing her estranged daughter-in-law, Jennifer Corville, for an unpaid loan and car insurance payments. Jennifer says Tina's son is a deadbeat.
This is the son?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. It is your claim that while she and your son were living in your home, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Corville says that you made gifts to her because she was the only one working in her family. Your son wasn't working, so she needed some car payments made in order to get her back and forth to work, and some insurance payments made on the car. I have a few questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
For not that long, because I had a job January 1st whenever I had put her out.
Listen to me. Listen to me. How long have you been unemployed?
Since January 1st.
Of 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to January 1st, 2007, your mother says that you weren't working a good part of the time.
Ma'am.
That's what your mother says.
Yes,
Is she
ma'am,
lying?
That's true. No, ma'am, that's true.
How long did you have the January job?
Not long, because I didn't even
Just
go
don't tell me because.
No, ma'am, I hadn't gone offshore. It was an offshore job, and I didn't have a ride to go offshore. That's why I didn't have that job. I hadn't
So
even
you
worked one
didn't have
day.
a job?
I had the job. I got hired.
When was the last time that you got a paycheck, Mr.
I
Corville?
didn't get a paycheck from them because I never worked one day
Mr.
because
Corville,
I
I
didn't have
want
a
you to
ride.
listen to, put on your listening ear, sir.
Okay.
When was the last time, month and year, that you had a paycheck? Think hard.
2006, and I can't give you the exact month.
Well, give me close to the
Okay.
exact month.
About the 10th month, or maybe even the 9th.
What would that be, the 9th month?
The 9th month
Yeah.
is September. Took me a while.
Good. September. Now, in August, who did you work for?
Pizza Hut,
Doing what?
delivery driver.
How long did that last?
Not long.
Why?
because I was told I couldn't use the car to do it no more. I was putting wear and tear on our car.
Your Honor, that was our car at the time. I was a manager at Pizza Hut.
Listen, you know what kind of sympathy I have for you? Zero. You picked him. And not only did you pick him, but you picked him, and you have a child.
Not with me.
I know that.
Okay. I was just clarifying it.
You know, put your hand down. Sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes the loneliest you can be is when you're with somebody.
Yep.
Did you
know?
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
Now, your son, who was without a job, moves in with you, with his wife and her child.
Yes, ma'am.
How old was he when he left home?
He's been in and out of home since he's 12 years old.
In and out of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how did you feel about it when he told you he was getting married?
Didn't know the girl long enough.
But she has a job, right?
Yeah, at the time she did have a job, yes, ma'am.
Now, your son had no job at the time.
At the time?
At
Yeah.
the time?
At the time he did have a job.
Doing what?
He did sheet metal.
What happened to that job?
He had differences with the guy.
Yeah, the guy fired me because I asked for a raise.
And what did he say when you asked him for a raise?
He told me he didn't feel that I deserved it, and if I felt like I really needed it, I could go look for a job elsewhere because I no longer had one with him.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
said, I don't feel as if you deserve it. If you feel as if you deserve more, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he didn't say that you can't have a job with him. He said, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you went elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you go?
To Pizza Hut.
Was that paying more than your sheet metal job?
Yes, ma'am.
Nah.
With the tips, yes,
No.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, tell me about this first loan. After they got married, they moved in with you because he's not working, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Were they paying rent in your house?
Not at the beginning, no.
Were they paying rent later?
When the second go around, they were going to pay rent. They moved in twice last year.
Fine. Well, the second time they moved in, did they pay rent?
1 month.
How much?
$150.
And who paid the rent?
My son.
What was he doing?
He was working for
Trim.
Newcom.
Yeah.
What happened to that job?
We had went and we had a court date for me and her both to attend to, and we asked the
What kind of court
instructor-
date?
I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
You had a court date and you don't remember?
Yes,
What kind of
ma'am.
court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to do with me.
But
For
we
a paternity, quiet. For a paternity test for what?
His second child.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
He has two, one for two different women.
Now, how much money in total did you give Miss Corville?
$958.
Tell me what it was for.
In January.
January of what?
Of 2006. She bought a car with her income tax. Didn't have money for the insurance, so I loaned her $200.
Just a second. Tell me about what she didn't have money for the insurance, and she said to you
she would pay me back.
Did you have that discussion with her or with your son?
With her.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that she would help us, give us the money because of the fact he was out of work, and she didn't want to see us without a car because if we didn't have a car, we were unable to work.
Was he
And that she
working?
said-
Was he working at the time?
No, ma'am.
Did you subsequently get a job, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did. Good. Where did you get a job?
That's whenever I went to the electrical company.
And how did you get to the electrical company?
She had brought me a few occasions.
Who did?
Miss Jennifer.
Your wife?
My wife, yes, ma'am.
What's next?
In May, she called me at work crying because she had a payday loan that she had taken before they were married, crying because she was going to get arrested. Could she please borrow some money?
Is that right?
It is.
Good. How much was that?
$305.
80.
That you owe her. Go ahead.
Then in September the 19th, their ABC insurance canceled. So they had to find new insurance.
They had to find new insurance.
She had to find new insurance.
Where were you working? You told me you were working in September, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's whenever we were both working at Newcom.
Oh, okay, so you were both working.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were using her car to get there.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Perfect.
So I paid her down payment for $155
That's
for
fine.
the Geico.
That ensures that your son is working. Perfect. What's next?
Then in October, she was short $100 because they both lost their jobs. She was short $100, so to keep her car, I put the $100 difference in pay that she would pay me back when she'd find another job.
Why'd you get him to pay you some money?
It wasn't his car.
He was using it. They were a married
On
couple.
no,
listen.
she
Miss
got-
Corville.
I had lost
Your son
3
put her
jobs.
out of the house when?
January 1st, 2007. Why?
What was my question?
I couldn't use the car to go find a job, nothing. She had stopped letting me use the car, everything. That was her
Really?
car.
And you had been using the car to go and look for a job?
No, ma'am.
Well, you said she stopped.
Yeah, like she hadn't let me. And within 3 months since we had been back over there, I had got a job and went to Houma. That was the only time.
So that's why you threw her out?
Yes, ma'am, because I was supposed to be leaving to go offshore and she wouldn't bring me.
Go ahead.
He didn't get a job in Houma. He actually went to Houma to get a job. He failed his drug test, and he was unable to work offshore. So he actually didn't
What
work.
kind of drugs were you taking that you failed the drug test?
None.
You mean that the test was a mistake?
No, ma'am, I was going offshore.
So you didn't fail the drug
No,
test?
ma'am.
Would you like to take one today?
Doesn't matter.
She owes you for the payday loan. That she owes you for. For the car, consider it a contribution to your son. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $305.80. That's all. Thank you very much.
Now, this is case number 447 on the calendar in the matter of Rennie versus Harvey. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mrs. Rennie, this is your son and your stepson, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rennie, it is your claim that Mr. Harvey owes you and your wife money for a series of loans that you made to him. And in addition, he owes you money for taking care of his 11-year-old son, who he left with you when he moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harvey says that you volunteered to take care of his son and that this money that both you and his mother gave him were gifts. That's your defense. And you're sticking to it.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
32.
How many children do you have?
3.
How many live with you?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 3 months.
Is the mother of the 2 children also living with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you separated from her for a period of time?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
Well, it's 5, 6 months.
And how much after you got back together again did she become pregnant?
How much longer?
Immediately.
You moved
Yes.
back together when?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, what? I know that you moved back together. When is the question?
Trying to think.
You were living with your mother and a husband, with your 11-year-old son. Where's his mother?
She lives in Jacksonville, Florida.
Anything wrong with her?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have legal custody of him?
No, Your Honor.
Who does?
She does.
Well, why was he living with you? These are not hard questions, sir. You should be able to give me a quick answer.
She's a deadbeat mother.
Well, deadbeat mother means she doesn't pay any support. That's
She doesn't
different.
pay any support.
If she has legal custody, she's supposed to have him with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he wasn't with his mother, he was with you. My question was why?
Because his mother's home got burglarized, and I felt it was unsafe for him to live there.
So when did you take him?
I can't think exact the timing.
What year?
It was 2006.
She have other children?
Yes, she does.
Did she ask you to come and take him?
Well, I felt it was best in his interest.
I didn't ask you what you felt. I asked if his mother, who was his custodian, asked you to come and take him.
Yes, she did.
She did? Is that
Yes,
right?
she did.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if he's not thinking right.
She demanded someone come get him.
In what month in 2006 did...
It was actually 2005. It was September.
And he came and brought his son to you?
In the beginning, his son lived with my daughter, his sister, and then in January 2006, he brought him into the home with us because my daughter could no longer take care of him.
Is he a problem?
He isn't with us, but he's very argumentative, and I think it's just the way he's been, from going back and forth. And his mother is not a very good mother. She never gave him a lot of attention and stuff, so he can be difficult.
Well, when you have 2 non-parents, it's hard to grow up yourself.
That's exactly right.
I'm just curious, Mr. Harvey. Well, you don't know dates. Your mother will tell me. When did he move out of your house?
He actually physically moved out of our house in February '06.
Leaving his son with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Why don't you just keep him there?
I think that's what we're going to do.
Have you gone to court for custody?
Yes, ma'am. We have temporary guardianship and custody right now until the juvenile district makes it permanent. And that can be any time now.
Who pays support for him?
No one at this time.
Not him?
His father was paying support up until July of '06, which automatically comes out of his paycheck and goes through the court system, and the mother was receiving it, and she was keeping it. She was not giving it to us for the child. I have an appointment through child support recovery. We've already did one appointment. They're going in front of the judge, actually, to
You
get
are?
child. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you should get that money retroactively.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
It
So
will
why
be
don't I have to
paid.
deal with that? Look at how this is nice. It's going to be coming out of his pay retroactively to the day he stopped paying child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, perfect. So now we can move on to the other loans. Now, tell me about the other money, Mr. Rennie.
Good morning, ma'am. We financed a vehicle for him. When he went to jail in 2004,
What did he go to jail for?
a domestic violence charge.
Against whom?
The girlfriend he's living with currently. The vehicle was refinanced at that time. The payments went on. He was making the payments. The June payment was not made. The June payment came out of my son's 13-year-old savings account because our bank takes it from where there's money. July's payment, he made half of. And he came to us in July and said, I'm going to be getting my own place in August. So we said, you know, contingent, you were supposed to come take your son in August to come live with you. School starts and he can be in the house and all that good stuff. August came, and I went to bring him there, and he refused him. He told his son, I can't take you, I can't afford you right now, so rather than make a stink, we just
That's what you told your son?
I didn't refuse him. I told them that the timing wasn't right at the time, and as soon as I get on my feet, he'll be living with me. I was just trying to get ahead, Your Honor.
You don't get ahead by making another baby. You got enough babies. You had enough babies before you had this one. How many car payments did you make for him?
We made June's, the other half of July's, and August and September.
What arrangements did you make with him to repay you?
He'd been paying it all up until that point.
I understand that, sir. But once you pay, unless you have a contract with him to repay you, that's a gift. What about the car payments, sir? Why didn't you make the car payments? Too busy making a baby?
No, Your Honor.
Well, what were you busy doing, sir, instead of making your car payments? You were using the car, weren't you?
I've given my mom tax money out of my taxes, which I think should clear up that debt.
When?
It was in a period of 2 years.
When, I said?
The 2004, 2005.
Listen to me. Money out of your taxes 3 years ago, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in car payments that they made for you in 2006, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you make your own car payments?
I got behind on it,
What were you doing with the money?
paying rent.
And what was your girlfriend doing? Nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Time you grew up, sir, you made 3 children in your life. That makes you a big boy. Act like a big boy. Don't act like an idiot.
And later today,
Let's talk about the purple bedroom.
She said purple, but it's very dark.
I'd start painting if I were you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David and Janelle Rennie claim Janelle's son, Keith Harvey, owes for car payments, insurance payments, parking tickets, and a loan for rent.
Okay. What else, Mr. Rennie?
Car insurance from February to August of '06 was not paid, in total about $600.
Well, why did you pay for the insurance? Why didn't you just cancel the insurance, put a boot on the car?
The insurance was on our policy, and we were just trying to help him.
I understand that, but he didn't pay it. So why didn't you just go repossess the car?
We figured having a car was necessary to have a job, to take care of the children. We tried to help every step of the way.
I understand that. That's a gift, not a loan.
Well, we had to improve his policy on the car because he's a courier. So we had to add extra stuff. So he came to us.
And said what?
And said, Mom,
Hello my dear friends, how are you? I hope you are best. Welcome to my channel. So in this my content, my topic today about which I give you knowledge about what is Emo app. Emo app nowadays, Emo app is very online good app. We're doing with online cars, online cars with another country friends. We're doing chats with other countries friends. We're doing parties in Emo, and his very potential application, and I hope you also try the Emo application in this mobile. So if you like, so please subscribe and press the bell icon. So now I am go. Take care. Allah Hafiz and love you. Hello my dear friends, how are you? I hope you are best. Welcome to my channel. My topic today about what is Forsake. I am complete teach you about it. A Forsake company, what is? I am complete guide you in this my content. A Forsake company is the online network marketing processes. he doing online works, means network works, means one person invest one time, and then if he doing to best team, then he add many persons, and then when his team add more persons, he he passed the commission for every new persons. So friend, he's the force company work. So friend, how is my topic? I hope you like. So now I am go. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Hello my dear friends, how are you? I hope you are best. Welcome to my channel. My topic about what is computer. I am some guide you about it. A computer is a device that we learn and teach many things. These include mostly monitor, keyboard, mouse, LCD, and hardware, software, and many things which we connect to each other, and is all made to name the computer. And in computer we doing all online works and all network works, all thinking doing computer is a better good scientific thing in our Asia nowadays. So friend, how is my topic? I hope you like. So now I am going to new topic. Take a laugh, please.